This is a basic demo on how to use this template. I have a script that can help you creating tables and whatnot, and functions currently, so just creating functions and tables. So I'll just be using that to make a simple to-do example, where basically I'll just write through a post request, I'll send contents of a to-do, and we'll write that to a table, and then I'll just show you in the AWS console that it's properly working. So we're going to need two components for that, which is a function which has a post handler or post method, and a table which has the put item policy enabled for that function. So this sls-ts script here is available from the package JSON right here. So it just opens up this script, which is a pretty convoluted piece of code that basically takes templates and creates a function or a table, depending on what you pass in here. So I'll just actually check this here. Alright, so I can provide method and path. So I don't really care about the path, I'm just going to leave it default, which should be the name of the function. But I'm going to add a method. First I'm just going to create a name for the function. That's going to be post to do. Yeah, so I'll just create a new function and specify method to be post. Alright, and this scaffolds and creates a new function called post to do with some basic boilerplate. And then what I'm going to do is create a table. So a new table called to-dos, which will have the primary key of to-do ID, which will be a string. And I want to be able to put item from post to do, which is the function name. Okay, so now in the tables.json we have a to-dos table. This is just data that can be used in whatever function. Policies here, so CloudWatch added post to do role. Tables index, so here we have our new table that we created. Alright, so here there's an issue. I'm not sure what happened here. Let me just go over the code real quick. Okay. Maybe I need to put these in quotes like this. Alright, so I'll just delete the changes that I've made. Unfortunately, like, it's not like super complete, where like I just basically have these two create functions. So there's no like rollback feature, and there's no like more fine-grained things. So for now I'll just like delete these, and I think this might be like a Windows issue, because I tried this on Linux and it worked very well. So yeah, this is good, it's just a table that didn't go well. Okay, so we try again. To-dos, index, yeah, okay. So it was a Windows issue. Windows had the comma that didn't bode well with the PowerShell. So yeah, I wrapped it in commas for it to be interpreted properly. But basically from here on out, we should be able to develop a function just right away. So I'll go in, wait, did I remove the function? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Alright, well, okay. I guess this is a good exercise, so what happens when you mess up? I'll just remove all the changes, basically. So my serverless.yml also has a change here, and here. Cool, and that should be it, basically. So I'll just run the new function again, and we'll start working on it. So, alright, the post body, what I want is, I want the to-dos content, basically. So just one key, tables and stage, cool. This I don't need, this is for other stuff and post requests. Here I should be able to get content because my type says that I can get it. Post to do body, which I'm parsing event.body from, and event is an AWS Lambda event from type. So this is all things that you can verify yourself when you use the tool. Basically what I'll do is DynamoDB.put, and then I'll do table name, and then I'll have, so this would be project name, which I need to import from here, like this. Project name, tables.todos.name stage. This is my table name. My item will be, I need a to-do ID, which will be a string, and content, which will just be the content passed in from the body. Okay. Cool. So my linter is kind of acting up, but I don't think it's a big problem. Alright, so for the to-do ID, I'm just going to import v4 as UUID v4 from UUID. And what I'll do is cd into this function, post to do, and then yarn add the dependency UUID, like this. So we have a node modules here with the UUID files, which are necessary. Okay. Good. So now we get a warning because we're not using it. So what we'll do is, so const to do ID equals UUID v4. Okay, boom. And then we'll just put to do ID when we put the item into the table. So dot promise, and we're going to await, and then in the body we'll return to do ID to the caller. Okay, cool. And then my response will be a string, basically. So this works. All right. Any other issues we might run into? I think this might actually do it. So we'll just try it out, basically. So we'll do yarn deploy dev, because we just want to deploy it to a development environment. We don't want to tear it down immediately or anything like that. And then we'll do like curl requests to see if it gets populated in the table or not. This will take a little bit. So in the meantime, we'll just like look at this. So the included resources basically are anything under post to do folder and anything under the data folder. And this is required because we're using the table name and the company name. And this is required because by default it would only include JavaScript and TypeScript files that are used and not anything in node modules, so we kind of need this line here. We'll also examine what the packaged archive looks like, so what actually gets deployed to Lambda through the S3 bucket. So we should be getting our stack created soon, but it's going to take a little bit. As you can see, the TypeScript is already compiled. It only took about 10 to 15 seconds. It's not going to take a long time, just based on like the actual configuration that we're using for this project. Basically, normally the TypeScript plugin, and see also here how the sign-in function and the post-to-do function are not the same size, and that's just because we're not sharing any code between them, save for the data here. So in a lot of different configurations, you would actually be uploading some of the dependencies which are unused to various functions, but this is really like set up in a way to make it like as modular as possible. So you don't really run into issues with dependency management unless you don't follow the template and the instructions in the README. So basically, if you have any dependency in your actual code, like in your function, you add it as a dependency, and you must not add any dev dependency within that function. You need to add them in the root. So basically, yeah, okay. So okay, so I'm just gonna make a I wonder if I can, oh, I don't think I can unzip it. Okay, so I might just look at it. Yeah, open in Explorer. Cool. So I wish I could zoom this in. Okay, that doesn't help. So we're just including data, and here we have source maps because we're using the dev config. So if you can see here, tsconfig.dev.json. So it extends this, which gives us all of our type checking. Does include tests and includes anything in functions, and it has source maps. For production release, you have source maps at false, and it extends the dev one. Anyways, so yeah, we're including the data and the functions post to do, which has node modules and all of the other files that were in that folder. So now what we're going to do is get our post to do URL. Cool. And we're going to try to curl it somehow. Okay, cool. So we do have curl enabled here. So we'll just try this. I wonder if it's gonna work. And we need the header. Okay, cannot bind parameter headers, value of type system string. Okay, so this is not gonna work. So maybe we just have like a small script here. All right. So we will post to this, the body this, and then with the response. Okay, so maybe we just put this as a TypeScript file. Please insert like this. Yeah, I really wish my thing was automatically automatically linting it. like this. What? Oh, right here. Cool. All right, we're almost doing it. Manually linting is not the funnest. Cool. So then I can just run it with ts node, I believe, or I can compile it. Yarn tsc index.ts, and then project would be tstconfig.dev.json mixed with source files. Okay, cool. So I'll just tsc index or test.ts. All right. Okay, so we got undefined. So I guess we'll just run response instead to see status code. No, nothing. Oh, right, because we're crashing. So this goes here. Error. Console.log. Error. Oops, we need to compile it again. Cool. Oh. What was this? Okay, so right. Response.data. We need to compile again. This is so fun. Yeah, but I think it would be working, so I'm just gonna quickly check out console DynamoDB. I'll show you. Okay, tables, won't be long. Items, right. So hopefully I don't dox myself. Looks not too bad. Here it is. We're good. Alright, so yeah, these are the to-do IDs with the to-do contents. And so we'll run it again. So here we could see all of these. So we have 5 items. If I refresh 5 items, we'll run test.js. And now we have 6 items. So basically we created a table, created a function, made sure the function could write to the table, and then yeah, we tested it manually, sort of. You would normally do this with Postman or curl or whatever other HTTP client, and then you would also make integration/unit tests over here to make sure that everything works. So yeah, that's basically it. And if you do want to run integration tests, it's as simple as doing this, and everything is taken care of. Basically what it'll do is create a new stack, a whole stack in AWS. It'll run your test suite against that stack, and then it'll tear it down at the end. So I'll just like leave this here running. It might take like about 3 to 4 minutes. It's actually pretty long because you need to deploy the stack and then run your tests, but it's a pretty cool feature, I think, to be able to like test it against like real like deployment architectures or infrastructures. So yeah, I'll just leave this run here, and you could check this out for yourself if you're interested. What you should see is that this integration test right here is run. So it'll verify all of the all of the different error possibilities. And then success at the end. So the only thing we do here in this test is that we put an item into the sign-in table, and then we test against the sign-in function or I guess this would be the user state. And then we test against the sign-in function, all the different error conditions. So this will run shortly. It won't run any tests for the default, the function we added, so the post to do function, because there's no template for those. Maybe we could add that in the future, but I'm not sure that's actually very useful. There's a lot of different function configurations that could happen, so they wouldn't all work. Okay, so now we're running the tests. Cool. So these actually all succeeded. And then here we go. We're removing the stack. So this is something that you do for like CI mainly. Basically, the development workflow that probably you should use is you create a function either manually or with the helper script, and you create all your other resources regarding that function. And when you're done with that, you deploy it to a development stack, and then you like manually test your requests against it, and then you debug it using CloudWatch. So with CloudWatch, you're able to read all of the console.log statement outputs when your function gets invoked. So you just debug it like that, and you edit your code until basically you're comfortable that you understand how it's working, and that you don't really get errors, or that the errors that you get are properly handled. And when that's done, you can write an integration test, sort of like reinforcing the manual testing you did, so that you don't have to like debug the integration test too many times, because it gets really expensive in terms of minutes spent deploying when you just do everything through your integration test suite. But afterwards, when you have your integration tests, it's much easier in your CI environment to not have any sort of like regressions, since basically every time there's a change, you just test against the same suite basically. And you can also write unit tests. Here I have an example. These aren't like as useful, but they can be really, really useful when you don't want to deploy a whole environment. So what you can do is just import the actual function. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of how that would go. So you would import this function, and then you would pass it like a custom object just to see how it would react to it. So that's like a good way that you could do that. So technically you could do this with, the main issue here is that when you use DynamoDB here, you need to be on a machine that has like the proper AWS credentials to access like the right table basically. So when you do your tests like this, you would need to have like a deployed table for it to work, and in your unit test you would need to specify basically which table it is. So yeah, your stage would be in your process env. So maybe you have, like a deployed test environment, and you just leave it there, and then you run your unit tests against it, but it's just not like the most understandable way to do it. So the way I do it is just deploy it, manually test, write integration tests, and then for anything that is like functions, like functional, I just do unit tests. So yeah, that's why there's only this. Basically checks the expiry, because I have this function, this helper function, and this sign-in cloud function. So yeah, that's basically it. That's a full rundown. And if you want a few tips on understanding what the scripts do, like the sls-ts scripts that I use here at the beginning, what you can do is just, when you have a fresh template, you run one of them. So new table or new function, and then you can just git diff, and then it'll show you like basically everything that it did. So you can sort of like look at it and see what sort of values change in which files, and it'll give you a good idea if you want to do it manually, and you want more control over the output, what sort of things you need to add. And keep in mind that some files won't be tracked. So like the new function and the new table files, they're not tracked because they weren't in the actual git index. If you did clone this with a git history, there's just a little note. So yeah, this was a very, very long video, but if you have any questions, definitely just like ask me, and I'll be able to explain it to you. Also, if you want to contribute, that'd be like super cool. If you can make the scripts a little bit more robust or add new features, like, I don't know, creating various like policies or different resource types, like RDS tables or whatever. Or, you know, creating a policy for an existing table and assigning it to a function, something like that. That'd be really appreciated, but, you know, otherwise just have a great day, I guess.